Hello, everyone. This is Rich Russakoff, and welcome to another edition of a video on my YouTube channel for you to enjoy and come back to if you want. Today, we're going to talk about a critically important subject for all of us, and that's identifying and overcoming the four fears or our upper limits barriers. I learned about this through Gay Hendrick's wonderful book, which was Taking the Big Leap, in which he talks about finding your zone of genius and understanding how successful people have to deal with upper limits barriers that hold them back. So these are the four upper limits barriers, and let's go to the first one. The first one is a field of poppies, and that's because in Australia, they talk about the tall poppy syndrome, which means you don't want to stand out, because if you outshine others, you'll be the first poppy to get cut down. I have a client who is a marvelous entrepreneur, very successful. She's going to be head of her EO chapter this year. Her husband is not as successful, and she fears that she is outshining him, so that not only holds her back, but it takes away the joy of the success she's achieved. Next slide. The fear of leaving others behind. Very often, if we're a successful entrepreneur, athlete, entertainer, or just human being in life, and we exceed others, particularly in our family or our friends and peers, we fear that we're leaving others behind, we're disappointing them, we think we're too good. These are stories we're telling ourselves in our head. So again, we don't enjoy it and we sabotage it. Please be aware if you have this fear, and we'll talk about, when we wrap this up, how you can break through these barriers. Next one. Fear of being burdened on others. When Gay Hendrick wrote the book, he talked about, as a child, while his mother was pregnant with him, his father died. So his mother had to raise him and take him back and forth between her raising him and his grandmother. And he felt he was a burden on the family. And that burden has been his upper limits barrier to deal with. I have a client whose father was 50 when he was born. His father was very high up in GE by that time. And he didn't have time for my client to go to Little League games, to go to PTA, to go to other events. And he felt every time he asked his dad, he was a burden on him, and he fears being a burden of others. And that's his upper limits barrier challenge. Next slide. This is the one that's been most difficult for me. I was a terrible student in school, particularly in the first 6 years. I couldn't spell. I couldn't sit in my seat. I did poorly on exams. And though the rest of my life I was very active, very involved, I got labeled lazy, dumb, worthless. And this has been a cloud that I've had to deal with. I recall once my last race as a track runner in high school in the mile. There was a guy who was the star on our team, and I had learned how to have a great kick at the end of the race. And I was at a point where I could have won the race, but I held back because I said, he deserves it more than I did. That is an upper limits barrier that many have. Another client that I work with has gone through this, where as a result of this, he drinks. I'm not good enough. I'm making $1 million a month. Why aren't I making $10 million a month? And it's led to a divorce, his kids not seeing him. And it's all because of these seeds that were planted when he was a child. So that leads to the most important 2 points I want to make on our final slide here. First of all, as you succeed, if you have upper limits barriers, it's like a glass ceiling, and it holds you back from going further. And there's so much more you can accomplish. So when you break through that barrier, you can get so far, and then you get pulled down a little bit, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. And it's understanding that and being able to say, I can do this. I don't have to listen to that voice anymore. Go away. That was then, this is now. So as we look at the final slide and we look at what we've talked about today, please don't believe everything you think. Don't allow what you can achieve in this life, because life is so precious and our skills and our talents should be used to the ultimate goals we wish. Don't let your upper limits barriers, any one of these fears, hold you back anymore. Again, I get back to, that was then, this is now. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this was helpful to you. Please join our channel, our YouTube channel. We'll be having other events coming up soon, and we'd love your feedback. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Namaste.